Hello, everybody. This lecture focuses on how to write a scientific article. So, here I will be telling you in detail about what are the different needs of a scientific article and what is the care that is supposed to be taken in order to have a successful communication. Firstly, a scientific article is the one that is published in order to display or communicate new research results. And the basic requirements of a scientific article is that it should be novel, meaning that it should be different from what has already been reported. There has to be some novelty in your writing and in your objectives. Secondly, it must be assessed, meaning that it should go through certain review process, which is also known as a peer reviewing. And when the scientific article is assessed, it indicates that this article is good enough, this article is justifiable. And then is the verifiability of the article, where you should make sure that you have references that support your data or your claims that you're doing through these articles, so that the readers will know that okay, this is a valid publication, this is a valid writing, etc. And then clear communication is also a crucial part in scientific article writing, because you can't really use a language that cannot be understood by a lot of people. The main purpose of you writing an article is to make sure that it reaches out to people, and not everybody will be as well versed in English as you are. So you should always make sure that you use a simplified language that clearly communicates your thoughts via that article. But whatever is said, it is like writing an article definitely is time consuming, and it is often a daunting task that will actually make you put in a lot of energy and commitment into the work. So now talking about the different hindrances that can actually be there for an article writing process. First one is the lack of experience and confidence. This is definitely seen in those people who are writing an article for the first time. Okay, so you will be like, okay, I haven't written an article before. What do I do? How do I go about it? Will my article be accepted? Or do I actually meet that standard of writing? Is what you start to feel. And then the poor writing habits and resistance to feedback. Article writing, as I told you, is slightly different from the normal writing process. Okay, when you're asked to write an essay or when you're asked to write a long answer for some particular question, the way you write can be freestyle. Whereas an article cannot happen like that. There has to be a structured approach into writing an article. So your writing habits must be flexible. You should be in a position to modify your writing habit in order to fit into the article writing criteria. And next is the resistance to feedback. Let us say that you are working in team or you are working individually with the support of a mentor. You should be in a position to acknowledge the corrections or suggestions made by the other person as well. This is an important thing, because if you cannot do it or if you cannot accept what is suggested by your team, then you will definitely not be in a position to accept what is suggested by the reviewer. So you should not be resistant to feedback. And then the writing anxiety and fear of failure also plays an important role. This is actually associated with the lack of experience and confidence as well. You might start to feel like if your language is acceptable, or you might withdraw from writing the article, fearing that your articles might never get accepted. So stop having such feelings. And also an unfamiliarity with the requirements of an article, and also lack of a scientific temperament are also important factors that can actually pull you back from writing a good article. So basically, you must be in a position to understand the process and structure that is used to produce a peer reviewed publication, and it is only then will you be in a position to write a manuscript that can be successfully accepted. So please be open to the possibilities and the barriers, and make sure you inculcate them both. You evade the barriers and you inculcate the requirements into your article writing process. This will actually ease the writing for you, and it will make you write really well. So now, what are the top reasons for accepting a paper? So when somebody is peer reviewing an article, or when it goes to a journal, what would a journal editor or a reviewer look into? First thing is the relevance of the problem addressed. You can't say like, okay, I will be working on COVID-19 and I have found a drug for it, and you cannot just simply beat around the bush. That is definitely not accepted. So you stick on to the subject of interest. You stick on to your topic of choice and write with a lot of relevance to the problem you are addressing. And secondly, the writing quality. As I told you, scientific writing requires a specific language. I won't say like you need some Shakespearean English kind of a language. There can be certain, you know, uh, liberal outlook into it, and you can simply stick on to the scientific terminologies to be used and still write. You don't have to worry mostly about the grammar. Grammar can be pardonable to certain extent, or you don't have to worry about like, okay, let me beautify this thing. Like, let us say there is a flower, okay, and you need to describe it. Describing a flower scientifically and describing a flower poetically are two different things, and you should stick on to the scientific description only. Likewise, cancer, yeah, cancer is a catastrophe, cancer is an age old disease, and cancer is causing problems worldwide. You stick on to the scientific explanation of cancer and not say like, okay, cancer is a very big problem, people are dying because of cancer, and people are suffering a lot because of this, and like, I feel very pathetic about this. No, that is not what you write. You write what is cancer, and maybe the factuals about cancer with reference to its history, and also about the types of cancer, the mechanistic basis behind cancer. You write that way. So that is the writing quality that is expected. And next is an appropriate and comprehensive study design. I told you earlier there is no beating around the bush. So what you should do? You should have a specific study design that will help you achieve a solution to the problem that you are addressing, and it must be appropriate. You cannot go around saying like, okay, I'll do protein sequencing using PCR. That cannot happen. Okay, protein sequencing will have its own sequencing methods that are supposed to be followed, whereas PCR can be used for the gene expression study. So there are specificities associated with each protocol that you will be putting up there in your article, and stick on to those specificities of the protocols. And then Also, look into those articles that have been recent with regard to the problem you're addressing. Let us say you're writing about cancer, and there are like a lot of publications happening with regard to cancer. So, if I must say, like maybe you can, in the last 10 years, you can at least find 1,000 articles on cancer. And now, if you want to say cancer therapeutics, 100 articles out of these 1,000 might be specific to cancer therapeutics. And now, if you want to say you want to check the cancer, anti-cancer activity of neem, neem plant, there could be 10 papers that are specific to the anti-cancer activity of neem plant. So stick on to these 10 papers and not the 1,000 papers that have been published on cancer. Okay, have a focused and updated review of literature. This again complies to the fact that your review of literature must be recent. Okay, I don't want you to not just me, like any editor would not expect you to find a paper that was published like 20 years back and still substantiate the findings that you are making. It may happen, it may not happen, but as far as possible, try to fit in the most suitable and most recent publications into your review of literature. And also consider a significant sample size in these articles. So, when you are referring to an article, let us say you have two articles and both of them are clinical trials. And one article talks about clinical trial in 100 people, whereas the other article talks about clinical trial in one person for the same process or for the same drug. You should be in a position to choose the 100 numbered paper instead of the one clinical trial paper. So you should always make a choice between the numbers with regard to the sample size as well. And always include adequate illustration. If you're writing a review article, try to draw diagrams or put up graphical representation. If you are writing a research article, include graphical representations for your data along with the statistics, of course. Also explain the methodology behind it using these illustrations. This will add more value to your paper. It is not only about writing, but it is also about representing things pictorially into your article. And then an accurate description. You should stick on to the problem and you should write only about the problem. If you're writing about cancer, you write about cancer and not tuberculosis. And you stick on to what is necessary only. Like, since only because you're writing about cancer, let us say you're working on breast adenocarcinoma, you write briefly about cancer, like a paragraph about what is cancer and things like that, and then write in detail about breast cancer. It is not that you write briefly in detail about all the types of cancer and briefly about breast cancer. That will not be accepted. So your description must always be accurate while you write an article. And most importantly, always include citations or references that support your claims. If you look into an article, if you take some statement from it, please make a note of that statement. Do not forget not to include the reference, because your paper will definitely not get accepted if the citations are not adequate. I repeat, please make a note of your references when you put up a statement. Now, talking about the top reasons for rejecting a paper, they can be insufficiently described statistics. You have sufficient data, but you're not including them. You're randomly beating around the bush. You're telling something random about your findings, and you're doing it for the sake of doing it. Don't do that. If you want to do that, I suggest you not to do the article writing exercise itself, because it won't give you any result. And then improper interpretation of results. This is also a very important thing. Stick on to the facts published in the original research article. If you are picking it up for a review, make sure that the results that you are focusing on are interpreted in the right way. Let us say, like as I gave you an example of anti-cancer property of neem. Let us say neem was moderately cytotoxic on breast cancer cells. You must mention it as it is. You cannot say neem is significantly anti-cancerous, or you cannot say neem is not anti-cancerous. You can say that neem is moderately anti-cancerous only. So stick on to the statements and do not modify them according to your wish. And never put up an inappropriate study design. I have already told you how important a study design is for a paper to be accepted, and an insignificant sample size. Also, I have mentioned. Now, a poorly written or difficult to follow paper. I told you grammar does not matter, but it doesn't mean to say that you can write a paper in a broken language. Whichever the language you're comfortable, preferably English, write it in a simple way. You don't have to focus on writing it in a very hi-fi language. Just stick on to something simple. If this is this, this is this. That's it. Okay, you don't have to worry about using those fancy words into your language until it is necessary, until the article demands it, until the journal which you are targeting demands a fancy language. Never do that. Make it easy for everybody to follow. A person who is not into scientific research might also read your read your article, and a person who is into scientific research also might read your article. You should make sure that both of them can understand it. So stick on to writing adequately and not writing poorly. Next is plagiarism. Plagiarism is a major concern across the writing community. What is it? It is nothing but you simply copying something and pasting it in your article without adequately acknowledging the findings or without acknowledging the author of the paper or article you copied from. Don't cut and paste or copy paste into your paper, because everybody will have a software that is designed to find out plagiarism. So if you sent me, like personally, I have access, and if you sent me some article, I will look out for how much original it is and how much similarity it has. If you send it to an editor of a journal, the first thing they will do is check for plagiarism. And if it does not meet the journal standards, usually journals will expect you to have at least 90% originality in writing, and 10% of plagiarism might be considered. This again depends on the journal also. Okay, so never do it. It will get outrightly rejected. And trust me, it will be an embarrassment when they write back to you saying that your article is simply copied from various other sources. Don't do that. And also make sure that there are relevant citations. So, irrelevant or no citation for statements will lead to rejecting of your paper, along with irrelevant description of data. So, now what are the different types of articles? We hear about a lot of varieties of articles, like research articles, review articles, etc. And there are they are all classified into different groups. There are generally five types of articles. First variety is known as the first group is known as the primary article, which includes those articles that have a first hand data, some data that is never published, and it will be classified as an original or research article. It can also be case reports or case series in the uh, in with regard to clinical case studies, or also technical notes, meeting abstracts if you presented something in a conference, dissertations or the thesis that you submit as a part of your assignments or doctoral studies, and patents, also the proceedings of a conference. So all of them come under the primary sources or the primary articles. The secondary articles are those articles that are originally taking the information from primary articles. So they are mostly like the reviews, which could be narrative reviews or systematic reviews or mini reviews, and also chapters. All of them will have their source from the primary article. So that is why they are called secondary articles. Then we also have special articles, which are generally carried out upon invitation or addressing to directly to the editor of a journal. So there could be letters to editors where you read an article and you write a feedback regarding that article to the editor of the journal. So that will be considered a letter to editor, or correspondences where you communicate with a scientist regarding some topic and both of you will send it to an editor to publish it. That will be a correspondence that has been carried out between you and the scientist. And then are short communications, which focus on, like, the editor will invite you to write about a small topic. That will be a short communication. Or if he invites you to write about something bigger, it will be an editorial. Or if you're already an editor and you write an article to your journal, that will be called an editorial. Or commentaries where you read a book and you write regarding the book, that will be a commentary. Or you can also write pictorial essays. All of these type of articles are called special articles, and they generally happen by invitation to writing. Then we have the tertiary articles and grey literature. Tertiary articles and grey literature are generally obscure kind of writing, like they don't commonly occur in science. Tertiary articles are those articles that will have their source of information from the secondary articles. So if you are writing something out of a review or a chapter, that is considered a tertiary article. Usually tertiary articles are not published in a journal. And then we have grey literature. Grey literature is that kind of an article where there is no sufficient evidence in the form of primary articles or secondary articles or even the tertiary articles to support the writing. So this is a kind of article which has got no substantiating evidence at all. So when you write an article, it is very much essential to know the purpose and requirements for each article type in order to maximize the chances of publication and viewership. So if you're writing some article like in your case a review article, you should know what kind of a review you're writing. You like, if you plan to write a mini review, there will be certain rules that you must follow for that article to be considered a mini review. Like, let us say mini review is only 2 pages, and it will have some stipulated number of references or words, etc. Meanwhile, a systematic review is a more detailed review. If you are planning to write a systematic review, you should have an approach that is different from that of a mini review. And you should make sure that you cover the concept much in detail as compared to a mini review. So, before you start writing an article, you should decide on what kind of an article you want to write, and then design your writing style according to the requirement of that article. Also, most importantly, we should understand the difference between a peer reviewed publication and a non peer reviewed publication. This is essential because a lot of people don't know the difference here, and they simply choose some random journal and send it there. But I'll tell you, not every journal that is there can be recognized by everybody. So let us say, like, you write an article and you put it in your CV, and tomorrow when you're applying, you will send it across to the company or university or college where you're applying. The first thing that they will ask you is how many publications you have, and secondly, how many among these publications are peer reviewed or Scopus indexed. So, peer review process is something that identifies the significance of the journal you are publishing in. Okay, and by the term peer review, it simply means that there will be experts from the area of research who will be looking into your article and telling that, okay, this article has got significant contribution to this research area and it must be published. So when somebody certifies your paper, it is always good. Then nobody is certifying the paper. And usually a peer review article is written by scholars and researchers like you. And they will include an abstract and bibliography or a cited list of references because this is essential. And then they'll have a specialized format, which I will tell you in the next slide. And also, they use a scientific language. These are the most common characters of a peer reviewed paper. And a peer reviewed paper will generally be submitted to a journal. Now, coming to the non peer reviewed papers or publications, the authors who write it may or may not have a subject expertise. So, if you have to write a non peer reviewed paper on cancer biology, you might be an economist and still write it. Nobody will care. You might be a journalist and write it. All you have to do is your research. Whereas in the case of a peer reviewed paper, an economist cannot necessarily write much in detail about cancer biology because he is not trained to do that. So the next thing about peer reviewed, non peer reviewed publication is it does not need an abstract or bibliography, and there is no specialized format in which you write. You can write it in any format as you please. That depends on the author, and you can use a layman language or a simplified English that is not scientific. And such non peer reviewed publications with reference to journals can only be seen as an editorial review. Otherwise, it is seen as a part of magazines and newspaper articles. So, peer reviewed publications and non peer reviewed publications are different in this regard. And also, when you write an article, you should make sure what kind of a publication you are looking into. If the publication is peer reviewed, it has got a great value for your article, and if the publication is non peer reviewed, it does not have a major value for your article. So you should make sure what you are referring and what you want to refer for your publications. Next, talking about the contents of a research or review article. I told you there is a specific format in which peer reviewed articles are written, and there is usually an abstract, which is the summary of the article, and it is made within a specified number of words, as mentioned by the journal. Okay, like sometimes some journals will ask you to write an abstract within 200 words, while some journals will ask you to write an abstract within 300 words. So, depending on the journal requirement, you'll have to write the abstract. And abstract will have a small introduction and also a small insight about the materials and methods that you have followed in the research, the observation that you have made, and also the conclusion. So, an abstract will give a clear picture of what can be found inside the article. Next is introduction. So, whenever you write something, it is always good to give a brief introduction about the topic. And then is review of literature, which is a detailed overview of research that is already done with regard to the study objectives that you are focusing on. And care must always be taken to provide relevant references and citations for a review of literature. Meanwhile, it is not always mandatory to provide references or citations for for an introduction. Okay, always keep this in mind. Like introduction and review of literature are similar, but introduction is brief and it will only talk about your topic of interest and introduce your topic of interest to the reader. Whereas a review of literature will give a detailed understanding of your topic to the reader, and it will also follow the philosophy of referring to studies that have already been done in this regard. Next are the materials and methods, where you mention about the experimental protocols that were followed to achieve the objectives, and then you talk about the results or observations that were made, and later you discuss these results by substantiating them with the references or evidences that can support. So let us say you do a finding that says like neem has got significant anti-cancer property, and there are other papers also that say like okay neem is significantly anti-cancerous. You can compare your results to theirs and then make sure that you discuss the whole thing and support your findings using those articles. And then comes the conclusion where you state a finding. Like, let us say, in conclusion, you can simply say, like, okay, neem has got significant anti cancer property, and more investigation might be necessary in order to understand the mechanistic action behind the observed property. So you conclude in such a way that you state what you're finding and you also suggest what needs to be done for the future. Then finally is the bibliography where you where you list out the references that you have mentioned throughout the article in a specified format. Okay, so there are different referencing styles. There are thousands of referencing styles, and each journal will have their own specific referencing style requirement. So you go to the author guidelines section in the journal website and look out for how the referencing should be done and make sure that you stick on to that referencing pattern even to an extent where the punctuations or the order of mentioning the details of that article has to be perfect, otherwise the article will be sent back for correction. So with this, let me tell you about what are the things to be remembered. Make sure that you do not deviate from your objective or objectives, and do not plagiarize. Write everything in your own words, and this has to be done because you don't have a choice, not because I am telling it. It is only because nobody will accept it. And make sure that you note each reference immediately after the sentence. This is very important because you will lose a track of references otherwise. And also understand the different referencing styles. So check for the author guidelines provided by the journal. Okay, make sure that you know how different each referencing style is. You will definitely learn, and as you grow up. But please make a note of this because this is important as well. And then stick on to the word limit specified by the journal. If they say 6,000 words, stick on to anything that is equal to or less than 6,000. Don't overdo because it will be your article will be sent back for changes. And be on schedule, do not procrastinate. I'm telling you this because the moment you postpone your writing assignments, you will lose a track of it, and you may not be in a position to pick up the writing pace again. So be on schedule, stick on. Like if you think that you should write an abstract today, you are writing it. Don't write half abstract today and do the other half tomorrow. Don't do that. Okay, and as far as possible, do your article at one go. Do not take multiple breaks because you will lose a track of the flow in which you are writing. And also use a simple yet scientific language, and seek the assistance of your mentor wherever necessary. Do not hesitate. Your mentor will definitely be there to guide you through this process, and make sure that you make the best use of the mentorship that is provided. Okay. So with this, I thank you all, and I hope you write articles that can be of amazing scientific interest. Thank you. Have a great day.